right, welcome to another episode of Stuck in the Middle podcast. Got some fresh faces in the building. Before we get to all that, though, thank you so much if you are listening on YouTube. Please subscribe if you have not. If you're a returning listener, viewer, thank you so much for checking us out weekly. We are on Instagram, Twitter, Facebook, all that good stuff. SITM Podcast, sitmpodcast.com if you want to visit us on the web, learn more about the podcast, and shoot us an email, sitmpodcast237@gmail.com. I am one of your hosts, Reflex. My co-host, AK, Uncle AK, is behind the camera right now. I have a guest host in the building.
Hi, everybody.
Akanji.
Yes. My third time here.
Your third time here, yeah. First time you came, as an artist.
Yeah.
Second time you came with your group, Team Legacy. Yeah. Now you're back as a guest host. I'm going to let you introduce yourself.
I do a lot of things.
I know, yeah. And your podcast. So, yeah, introduce yourself real quick. Talk about your podcast. And, yeah.
Okay, so, yeah. So, I'm Akanji. I'm an artist. I sing, I write. And I recently started a podcast as well called Culture Class Podcast. And we talk about, just we try to talk about different people and different cultures. And because I'm from Cameroon and coming to the U.S., there's certain things that kind of don't gel or gel well. Yeah. So we're trying to kind of put those experiences out there. My co-host is called Nosa. He's Nigerian. But yeah, we just started it. But today I'm excited because I'm here with the professor himself.
The professor himself.
This is my personal mentor. Let me just put that out there. I'm probably gonna be biased. Maybe if I ask like a few.
It's fine. That's why you're here.
Yeah.
That's why you're here. But before we introduce him, though, I want to shout out somebody real quick. This is something new that we're doing. I just want to thank and Lara E from YouTube. We definitely want to take this time to thank you for checking out Stuck in the Middle and be a part of the village. Thank you so much for your continued support. She engages, she watches, she listens and engages in conversation and comments. So we thank you for for doing that and watching faithfully. Shout out to Envera. And her Instagram is Lala_living life on Instagram. Yeah, follow her. Thank you so much. But yeah, we got a prof in the building. Man, this is awesome. I'm gonna introduce you, and then we can get to the races. Okay. He is, our special guest. He's known as a romantic cuisinier. Wow. Okay. And he's a public relations professor, entrepreneur, and a retired combat veteran. Please welcome Professor Frank J. Phillips, the Stuck in the Middle podcast.
Thank you.
Yeah. Akanji.
It's nice to be here.
Have your way.
So, Prof,
yes.
Here we are again.
Yes.
You in front of a microphone, me asking questions. How are you feeling? How's the new year going so far?
Oh, the new year is tremendous. I'm retired, so if it doesn't go well, then there's something wrong with me.
You were just talking about going to France, like soon, before we started.
Yes. I have a good friend of mine whose cousin is 96, was in World War II, and he was stationed in Paris. So he decided to get a group of us men and go there for about a week to celebrate him. He's going to get a special award from the Notre Dame there, and going to be inducted into some kind of session there. So I'm going to take that time to maybe take a cooking class and take my lady and visit some
that romantic cuisinier side, what I mean?
Oh, I've tasted some of this cooking. Trust me, it is.
I want to break the ice, so you said some words, but I want to break the ice like this. You are quoted by saying, men allow women to grasp femininity fully, completely. That's in your book, Words and Thoughts.
Yes.
Expound on that real quick.
Well, a man playing his role as he plays his role will allow a woman to play her role completely. So I think sometimes there are confusions between the sexes about what role they play. A man has a very significant role, and that role is to be the provider, the hunter, that force that's somewhat aggressive, and the woman has more of a role toward accepting, somewhat being docile in that world of submission, because they both submit, but they submit differently.
Yeah.
So I say that the man being the man allows a woman to be a woman.
Okay. All right. I get it now.
Mm-hmm. And the woman being a woman allows the man to be a man.
Man, yeah.
You see, it's a dual role, and sometimes I think the way our society is, talking about U.S. society, we have a lot of confusion because we have so many things going on in that society to make it into a nice whole. So sometimes we need to be reminded of that we both have a role. If we play our role well, we can dance within that role.
Men allow women to be femininity fully complete. I like it.
Yeah.
But okay, so I do have this question.
Yes.
Then. So speaking of roles and with today's society, and assigning men to have specific roles and women to have specific roles, are you saying that in allowing women to fully be women, does that mean that men can't do or, be what a woman would typically be as well?
Okay. Say that question one more time.
So what I'm trying to explain is, so women, as we all know, you're saying, generally more docile and caring, and that's traditionally what a woman's role is. And for a man to, at least when a man is being a man fully, he allows the woman to be himself. But does that mean that a man can't be or feel or do the same things that a woman does?
Yes, as humans, we can do whatever we want to do. We can feel free to do those things. I like to think that I'm 120% man. However, I do things that would be typically the domain of women. I write poetry, I cook, I do a variety of things. But
of course.
We go deep in this job before we even get to know Prof. So in your own words, though, so we like to do this in the start of our podcast.
That's beautiful. It was a very surprise question.
You know what I mean? Breaking the ice, right? Who is Professor Frank J. Phillips in your own words? For somebody who doesn't know you.
I guess if I was to just put it in a nutshell, I'm just a good person who enjoys life. I enjoy life so much. I enjoy the whole complexity of it. I enjoy people, and I understand my role. So I just try to fulfill my role.
I hear that.
And my role is to be the best.
Is that what you see? Because you actually mentor of her, of Kanji.
Yeah.
Is that you say he enjoys life?
I do. Agree 100%. Being someone who has observed and looks up to the professor, I do see someone who wants to just be the best example for himself, for in his businesses, in his personal relationships, as a mentor. So I definitely 100% agree, and I feel like that's how we all should be, really.
How'd that relationship come about, mentor-mentee relationship?
It's interesting because we talk about that all the time. Oftentimes people think that the mentor-mentee relationship is something brought about by the mentor, but it requires work on both parties.
Facts,
You've got to be equally attuned to being mentored. Otherwise, it doesn't work. You can't. People come to me all the time about, I mentor my son, man. I said, I'd appreciate, but he's got to feel that way too, because it's just like a relationship. You got to be able to give. If you're doing it right, it should be like a family member. You should feel like that they're your son, your daughter, because you're gonna have to do the same thing.
I hear that. You married?
No.
Kids?
I have my son passed about 12 years ago.
My condolences. Where you from as far as like background?
I'm originally from New York. My family, my mother's side is from Trinidad, and my father's side was from North Carolina. But ironically, I did the Ancestry.com, and I happen to have 23% Cameroonian.
Those people are stealing your money.
See,
you said Cameroon? Okay, right.
That backfired real quick.
2%? What you say?
I got
23.
23,
Okay.
yeah, 23. Got 19% Nigerian, but I'm
got a little extra dope.
I'm 90% African.
Oh, okay.
90%. So
Yeah.
As is expected,
right,
really.
I'm not as close.
Yeah.
90%.
The other like 10%. Somebody
They just put a little bit. They just put a little bit of milk in it.
Wait. Sorry, I'm going to drift us off topic a little bit. But why did you say that these people are stealing your money?
I don't trust it at all. I don't trust it. You gonna swap your tongue and send it, ship it over? They got like how much, like millions? Nah. Come on.
Now that I think about it, that's like collecting DNA.
I don't trust it at all. I'm sorry. Yeah, that's for y'all. Hey, I know where I'm from. Sorry.
To each his own. Right?
But if somebody does a quick Google search on you, Professor Frank, they're gonna find this article. It comes up first. Former professor alleges hostile working environment.
Oh.
Speaking of your previous work at Prince George's Community College.
Yes.
I don't know if that's something you still speak about, and if you do, like,
I don't have a problem with
Yeah,
it.
yeah.
Okay. What would you like to know about it?
like the history behind it, how that fight was resolved, and things like that. As a former professor, you fight, with injustice.
Yeah.
What brings about that headline? Former professor alleges hostile working environment in Prince George's Community College.
Whenever you get to a point in life, you always sift through things, and you always got to come back to yourself. What was your contribution to it? Even though it may be something that's innocent, My contribution to that process was simply this. I came to the college right out of business. You know, I was still making money while I came to the college. I actually had an employee working there. So I was just relaxing. I didn't come to the college to make a living. I came to the college to help out. You know, I had just lost my son, so it was a perfect environment for me. And I say that to say that I came there relaxed, ready to just give.
Be a professor.
But that's right.
That's actually where I met him.
Yeah, just to contribute. You know, that was my philosophy. But just because, you know, I have a saying, just because you don't want to play the game, doesn't mean the game doesn't get played.
Super Bowl weekend.
So by coming in there the way that I came in there, I was always pretty, I like to dress. I was always pretty sharp. I drive a Porsche and everything.
Look nice right
and,
now.
Thank you very much. It's my retirement. You know. But just because you feel that way doesn't mean everybody else doesn't feel that way. So I had a lot of competitiveness coming at me without knowing. And I guess some of the young folks call them haters and stuff, right? So I had my haters. And we had a young lady who was in a position. The reasons why she got in that position didn't seem like it was proper, but she was in that position. So I, you know, being that I was an officer in the Army, and we dealt with leadership quite a bit. So, you know, I tried to help her out, you know. And they put her in that position, and she didn't have the skill sets to do that, nor did she have the character to do that. So something came up, and she started to go on the attack for some reason. I didn't understand what it was. Evidently, it was something that I probably did that had nothing to do with professionalism.
Oh.
But you know, if it had something to do with professionalism, then there's
follow
ways
it.
that you
Yeah,
can
interest,
deal
yeah.
with that. Well, she kept on doing it, and I kept complaining. It happened for about 4 or 5 years because I keep good notes. And in the military, I was what they call an inspector general. So I had broad experiences. So they teach you how to investigate and how to look at. You become a systems doctor, so to speak. So you could look at an organization, and you could tell by virtue of how someone responds what's going on. So quickly, I went and I looked for the policy, for the handbooks, and they weren't around. They were hiding them. So of course, when I got one, I looked through there and made sure. So I hit them on those types of things. Make a long story short, they didn't read my resume. Had they read my resume, they would have known they messed with the wrong person.
Ain't that the truth?
Straight up.
Yeah, I mean, my background was...
How did that whole thing get resolved?
Well, I wound up... I have PTSD because I'm a combat veteran. So I wound up retiring from them, getting a full retirement from them, which they were trying to get me kicked out. And I wound up, for lack of a better word, I landed pretty nicely. As you can see,
Hey, he's great. How long did you spend at PGCC?
I started there as an adjunct in '97 while I was still working at the Defense Information School at Fort Meade. I was still in the military. I didn't retire until '98. And full-time, I was there full-time in 2008.
Yeah.
But I had been working there and at the University of Maryland and Bowie since '97.
Wow. Man, traveling with the work.
Yeah. So, I took your class, your PR class, and I can vouch for these ratings that they found online and rate my professor.
Oh, you guys did
pretty
some research.
Is that what prompted you to take one of that? Did you?
Actually, no. At the time, I didn't know anything about Read My Professor. I was new in the country, and I think it was my first semester, second semester, when I took his PR class.
JJC, always go to community college. Sorry.
Right.
I must admit, I love your questions. That's a good question.
But so did you ever, when you were a teacher, pay attention to online ratings or things like that? And do you miss teaching?
Oh, of course, I miss teaching because I loved what I was doing. But I still have an opportunity to teach. You know, I'm a professional billiards instructor. As a matter of fact, 2 hours before I just came out of here, I held a lesson at my house.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
I was going to ask you how that's going.
Yeah,
I had no idea what billiard was till I was researching for this thing. Pool. We just played some pool last night.
Yeah. I can teach you.
I whip you though.
Oh, no.
Let me tell you something, okay? No, I don't. No, he's really good.
I was just trying to push buttons.
No.
I'm gonna say you're a professor, man. I got whooped by a kid last night, so you definitely got me on that.
So,
go ahead.
you had a
No, I was gonna say. So, did you ever pay attention to ratings, online ratings, or what students were saying and stuff like that?
Yeah.
Very, very rarely. You try not to because you want to come in there without any kind of bias. You just want to step away from those because it's kind of hard not to feel. I found that even when I was in the military, you run into different kinds of people. Sometimes you can run into people that for whatever reason don't like you or what have you. So they may write something that may not accurately describe your reality. So I came to the realization that I'm not going to concern myself with what someone else says. I'll look at it and I'll do what I have to do. But I found that most people will not see me when I'm doing my best and may only see me when I'm doing my worst.
Hey, isn't that the truth?
So I'm the one that sees me all the time. So I'm professional enough to make the adjustments when I need to make the adjustments. If you tell me something, it's constructive and I can see the substance in it, then I deal with that. But if you tell me something that's destructive and has no elements in which I can make some changes, then I ignore those kind of things. So I try to stay out of that.
Man, this guy, man. No wonder your mentor saying the video. No wonder that I've come to see you speak again. But your journey has taken you from Pentagon City to Capitol Hill. You're traveling, man, as far as profession is concerned.
Yeah.
You've also worked with secretary of I'm trying to find a word, spokesperson for Congresswoman
Maxine Waters.
Yeah,
Yes.
Was that after military?
Press secretary.
Press secretary. Yeah,
that was actually after the military. I had retired in '98, and I started a business. I was doing some business, and I got a call from Capitol Hill.
Wow.
They wanted me to interview. Usually, it's the other way around. People are going there to try to get a job, but I got called in. Her chief of staff, Rodney, called me and told me that I want to come on down to Capitol Hill. So I went down there, went up to see the congresswoman. Went to her office. She looked at me. I looked in her office,
Looked nice.
She said, we're going to have to give you a writing test. I said, sure. So I got in there and wrote for her, and of course I complimented how much of a queen she was in our country. And of course that stroked the ego.
Why am I a little offended by this? Why?
Seriously,
Why am I a little offended by this?
I want to know why.
Well, I mean, he said I complimented her, and so I mean, yeah.
Well,
was that necessary?
Well, it is.
Hey, you do what you got to do.
You got to, man. It's a job interview.
But see,
Maxine Waters?
But see, here's the other side of that. I said I complimented her. But you have to also understand that I had the utmost respect for her. I saw her as a queen.
Of course.
You know what I mean? I saw her as a queen.
So it was the truth.
Yeah, it was no doubt. I still see her as a queen. Even though in some respects there are certain things that I don't like about her.
Hey.
But it's only because of the ego. Her ego's bigger than mine. So.
Hey, she is, she's a congresswoman, so.
She cut your checks.
But I will tell you this. She's deserving of respect.
Yeah.
Much more than most people even think. I mean, she is good at what she does. She can do your job and everybody else's job. It's just that she's got you there working.
Yeah.
She's smart. She's shrewd.
Yeah.
She's thinking. She's not some loudmouth up there. She is a very strategic, tactical person that makes things happen.
How long was your time there?
Just a year.
You didn't get fired, didn't you?
No.
Oh.
Actually,
you.
Actually, what happened is she kept questioning me of coming in late. They have egos, so I'm a professional. I retired from the military, so I'm there early. I was there at 7 o'clock in the morning every day. The office opened at 9, but she kept doing that, and her staff said, "Oh, Frank, they're never going to tell you you're doing a great job." She's just, So one day she said it one more time, and I just got a contract from somewhere, and so I wrote her a letter. And the letter basically said, "Dear Congresswoman Waters, I want to thank you for." No, I said, you expressed your desire to have me transition from the position of press secretary of your office. I've selected June 19th as that day, as it coincides with my son's release from school for the summer. I want to thank you for allowing me to chronicle and witness the fight that you wage on behalf of others. I hope you take my comments as sincere when I say that in my 21 years of service to this great nation of ours, I have yet to feel the joy of knowing that I would give my life for one of my supervisors until now.
This man memorized that joke.
Oh no, he don't play. Like
For that joy alone, I'm forever indebted. So you know that kind of like.
So did you move from there to Pentagon as the spokesperson for Pentagon?
Oh
Was
no,
that a job you
I
took?
was that before that. I was
Okay.
I was the first black what was that, combat camera commander. I was the first black Army news chief in the Pentagon, the first black civilian aid secretary for the chief of the secretary of the civilian aids. That's where you work with a bunch of millionaires for the secretary. And then I was one of the first black spokespersons during the Pentagon during that time.
Man, when you turned in that letter, what was the reaction? I just want to know.
Well, when she came back in, she had other people doing some of my work, and they came to me, and she seemed a little bit shocked that I was still there doing my work. I gave you 2 weeks notice. I'm going to be here. I'm a professional.
well, hey, that 2 weeks notice didn't sound much like a 2 weeks notice. It just sounded like a bunch of compliments.
yeah, it was.
Like it's hard to pay attention to what you're really saying when you phrase it so well.
But, you know, I had great respect for her. I was honored to be able to give that kind of support to someone that looked like me. And so I was going to give her more than what because I had to do that in the military to people that and I wanted to make sure that she understood that, she was, I loved you, sister. You treated me like a chump, So that was kind of like there was a hidden message in there, and I think she got it because she didn't talk to me for 5 years.
Dang. I'm sure you can visit her though, and everything will be good.
Yes. We're good now.
That's good. So by virtue of Kanji sitting here and Manu K sitting in the building as well as your mentees,
Yes.
I'm gonna ask what kind of an impact you have on your mentees as a mentor, for them to speak so highly of you.
I don't know. I'm just happy that they do. My focus was just on contributing, So I'm just happy and grateful that they do,
Dang. Okay. Sure.
I mean, hey, no, it would defeat, I think, in my opinion, the purpose if he were to answer that question honestly, which I think he knows how much he contributes to our lives. He's just a very humble person, and he's not going to sit here and say, I am so awesome.
Yeah.
But
you got to answer the question. That's
Well,
how.
well, it wasn't that I'm so awesome. It's just that I'm trying to make myself available, and they were there already.
That's key.
Sometimes all you got to do is just say a couple of words. There are people out there that can make it happen, and they just need encouragement.
Yeah.
Much like my drive to mentorship was really, and I think you captured this nicely in your video that you did, was really because I was too dumb to recognize the benefits of a mentor when someone tried to offer it to me. I had one of the guy who offered me mentorship mentored Colin Powell. And so I learned how positive and impactful it could be on people. So I just try to make sure I was that for other people, if they ask me for it. And I tried to give it to a lot of people. Not everybody can accept it.
Yeah. What kind of impact does he have in your life?
Personally, he's just like he said, very available. You send emails, you communicate, you try to get advice on just careers, those kinds of things. But more than that, I think what really makes it gel, what really makes it work, is that he's a friend. It's not always about so what are you doing now professionally? It's like, how are you doing, in your life? Like, are you okay? Are you happy? Are you doing the things that you want to do? And are you trying to make yourself better? And so I think there's it kind of reflects, when you kind of reflect on it, you see that when someone's genuine, you can't fake genuine. You just can't. And he's genuine.
I feel like you know what I'm saying, and I might be wrong for this, please don't shoot me, listeners. Like that whole thing of mentor-mentee relationship is kind of like lost in this generation. And you even just mentioned, you know what I'm saying, like in your day, you know, being, you know, dumb enough in your words to not accept, you know what I'm saying, that person offering. Do you think like that? Because I don't have a mentor. I don't. And I think I need one.
So when he became my mentor, it wasn't something that I sat down and thought I'm gonna get a mentor tomorrow. Like, it was never planned. I didn't really know what mentors were. It wasn't anything that I was exposed to before. I think it just kind of formed in itself, I guess, because there was never a thing where, you know, he said, I want to be a mentor, and I said yes. It just kind of happened. But to answer or to speak on what you're saying regarding young people not being very open to the idea of mentorship, I don't really know. A lot of people that I talk to,
I think it's a dying thing.
Well, you might be right. I don't know, but a lot of people that I'm talking to, especially as I'm in grad school now, and they're all saying, look for someone who can guide you in your career path. Like, because a lot of the job market now is who you know. And a lot of times your mentor will know people, you know, in high places, or at least people who can offer you opportunities. And so everybody's trying to find that connection to something that they want. Yeah. As selfish as it kind of sounds, that is kind of how, you know, the society is now. So a lot more people are, you know, going in that direction, at least in my experience.
Yeah, as an entrepreneur, you know, creative, a lot of creatives in this, you know, generation. I think you need a mentor. Me as an artist, definitely need a mentor. But go ahead.
I will tell you this, and I just dawned on the connection between her and Manny. Both of them were very youthful, bright-eyed, and they both seemed to have a direction they wanted to do. So I just wanted to make sure that I gave them what they needed, because both of them were like that. Even Manny was like that. She was one of the youngest people in my class, you know, but she had that hunger, that I want to succeed look in her eyes. So I just wanted to make sure that I laid the groundwork for them. Anything that they needed,
you know. Yeah, I don't see that to my needs. Guys, I'm just kidding. But what is the one thing you want young people to get out of life? As an entrepreneur, as a professor, as just a person who has experienced life.
I just want everybody to enjoy life like it's their gift, like it's your world, and you should be happy. You're the main character in this play called life, and you got to live it like you mean it, regardless of what it is that you do. Happiness is relative to the person.
That's
not all of us got to be multi-billionaires. Be happy. I'm happy. I used to make a whole lot of money. I don't make 1/10 of what I used to make. But hey, I can do everything I want. It's relative. You know?
Facts, yeah.
And in saying that, you're saying happiness is just whatever makes you, it gives you peace in essence.
Yes. Because I'm definitely at peace.
I mean, going to France, he happy.
Oh yeah.
I want to ask you, like, transition a little bit, because you were like I said in there earlier, you're an onion, you're peeling layers.
Yes.
What's this?
You gave him the onion thing.
No,
that's
him. That's him.
That's me.
That's him saying it.
I'm telepathic.
So
I
did an interview with him last September, October, November, I don't know. And he told me about someone had made that comment to him before, and I thought he relayed
this is
that
true.
to,
You know, so he has a lot of layers.
Yeah.
Just doing research on this, and it's a lot about you. One being you actually joined the Catholic Convent.
No, I was put in the Catholic Convent
By force.
My mother had a nervous breakdown when I was younger, so all of us were taken away, and we were put away in this convent. It was a great experience in the long run, and as a matter of fact, my buddy, he called while she was on the phone, while she was interviewing me. But it was like being in a boarding school. And you were there for about 7 years. So intellectually, it gave me a foundation. Intellectually and culturally, gave me a foundation that was very unique. It was also different because it was, in some respects, it was unrealistic. Your expectations were unrealistic because I grew up with all kinds of people, all nationalities. And when you grow up in that kind of environment, it's kind of difficult for someone to tell you who you are, different from who you know you are.
You mean outside of the convent eventually?
Outside of the convent, if someone says, well, people from China are smarter than people from here. I didn't know that. All I knew, I could compete with them. I could compete with anybody, because we didn't have those kinds of stipulations that sometimes society tries to impart on you. So you have to navigate through that when everybody thinks you're supposed to know, that you're supposed to act a certain way. But that was never my reality, and that's not a reality that I conform to. Mm-hmm. So I operate like I'm me.
Yeah.
And me, I come with everything I need, or I can grow to it.
So I don't imagine that it was very easy to transition into the real world, so to speak, with that attitude, because people will not, especially if you assert yourself and you say, no, I can compete, I can, be in the same room as you. So did you face any kind of, challenges in that regard?
Often. The issue with any kind of person that goes away from their parents, whether they're in a foster situation, whether they're in adoption, whether they're in a convent, your main challenge is, most kids, their challenge is trying to have fun and enjoy life. Your challenge is trying to figure out the psychology and not belonging to anything, right? So if you got that going on, most don't make it through that, because the psychology is too deep and the society reinforces that psychology. People look at you a certain way and all that. So you got to figure out a way to be your own self-motivator. You got to constantly tell yourself that you deserve this, that you're this, you're that. So you become what I used to call back in my day, we used to call pump it up, pump a person up.
Yeah.
You become what you call a pump junkie.
Yeah.
You pump yourself up so much that you get to a place and you feel ready, you can do it all,
I just listen to Meek Mill.
Huh?
I just listen to Meek Mill.
Yeah.
Do you know who Meek Mill is?
Yes, he's the guy out of Philadelphia that was in jail for a while.
Oh.
He in touch, you know what
I'm saying?
Okay. As a professor, you stay close to the people. I used to always mess with my students on that, with all the slang and stuff. But I'd say it in a way that just
very
didn't seem.
Way.
Yeah. So they.
Mess with him real quick.
I said, look, we all grow up the same way.
You know what I mean?
Just because I'm older,
but I'm not that old.
Right.
So transitioning into the military, though, just picking back off her question, combat veteran. So you were like,
I was an infantry airborne ranger.
What was that by choice, going into the military? Just speak about that experience.
Well, no. Initially, when I went to the military, I went there because it was last resort. It was last choice. I had got accepted into St. John's, Fordham University, and NYU, and I decided to go to St. John's. When I got there, my father couldn't read or write, so he couldn't really help me. And of course, coming from the convent, I was on a different intellectual level. So I got there. I did well on the SATs, and I didn't fill out the financial aid paperwork. I thought all that stuff on there was what they gave me. When I got to the line, I was probably it was 1975, 74, 75. I was in St. John's, and there wasn't too many people that looked like us. And I was going down the hall, I was from the inner city, so I was considered like a cooler guy. But I was walking through there like I was cool, but I was scared. I was trying to keep my... Yeah. So I got to the line, put that fake bravado, and the lady that was there, she looked at my paperwork. She said, yeah, of course, you go with that bravado. Yes. And she said, did you... She could tell that I'd failed miserably, She says, did you file for this stuff? I said, file? No. I said, I have read that. It says estimated. And I took a deep breath. I walked out of there, and I never came back. I joined, and I worked for a little bit, for about a couple months, and then I said, look, I hated the military. So I just joined, and I went 2 days later.
Wow.
Yeah, and worked out.
Would you do it again if you had that same choice?
Yeah, I love my life. I don't regret anything that happened to me, because that's what makes you who you are. So nah. I think a person that has gotten this far in their life and regrets, they don't understand life.
Yeah.
Life is about challenge and struggle,
Definitely, definitely, yeah. That's something that we, are big about on this podcast, on this platform, mental health. You mentioned a little bit earlier, PTSD. You talk a little bit about how you deal with it as far as mental health is concerning PTSD.
Okay. One of the things that I do that, for me, I just try to stay away from those situations that could be anxiety producing. Sometimes I play pool, so I go out in environments that may be a little unique, where people are not always cordial. So if I find someone that's overly aggressive, I'll back away from them. I may subtly leave the team or something like that, because the difference for me is he may take that as something light. I may take it serious. And serious for me is serious.
Yeah.
So I back, you just learn to back away from certain types of things. And now that I'm retired, I get to do what I want. I live a very stress-free life, so it works out. And then there's different types of things that you can do. You make sure you talk with people. Fortunately for me, my pool and coach, who was my mentor through that process, he was a Vietnam veteran, and he also suffered from PTSD. So he he's the one that helped me see that I had it.
Yeah.
From my reaction. So.
Hey, I like it. Want to transition us into this cuisine stuff that you have tasted?
So, I have tasted. So you refer to yourself as the romantic cuisinier.
Yes.
And you're doing billiards instructing on the side, and you're doing all these very fun things. Just tell us a little bit about creativity, because at least the way I understand it, there's a lot of creative intellect that goes into doing all of these things that you do, and you wrote a book as well. Yeah. So how do you channel all of this into all these different arenas?
Yeah.
I think if there was another path for me, I probably would have been a musician of some sort.
Yeah.
Everything that I do kind of conforms to some kind of musical dance that tries to speak to what's in my heart. Whether it's writing, I write with a certain rhythm. Whether it's pool, I play pool to attain a certain rhythm, to be able to creatively dance using a structured form. When I talk about cooking, I'm trying to communicate rhythmically, whether it's with flavors, whether it's with colors, whether it's with plating, all those types of things. I try to communicate that. So I think, had I had another lifestyle, I'd have probably been a musician and given me an opportunity to communicate.
Good sound.
Right.
Amen.
Right. Because we're all trying to figure out, try to articulate this thing we call life.
Definitely. Yeah. Wow. Speaking of a book, great book. A lot of people in this room have read it. Words and Thoughts, Haikus and Ebony and Gray.
Yes.
You were also quoted in this book as saying, aspiring black boys need authentic black men to deem oppression.
Yes.
Yeah. Expound on that.
Yeah, they unfortunately, in America, the system is not really geared toward people of color. So you've got to be strong enough to tell some of the young people what the journey is, and that there's still room to be who it is that you need to be. You could still feel strong within that mindset. I often had a saying that I would repeat to some of my young guys. I said, I love being black, because if God made me anything else, it wouldn't be challenging enough. So he had to make me black.
I like that.
Yeah. Think about that. I mean, we got the big challenge and everything. So, when we do our dance, it's better. I mean, life is what it is. We know how the world operates, right? We know that there's privilege throughout the world. We know that. I mean, it's right there in front of us.
Yeah.
So if we know that, then others know that too. It's like you're running a race, right? And if you're running a race, you run with a big 100-pound pack on your back. Everybody knows that, right? So when you show up at the table, and it's you and Bob, guess what? Bob, by virtue of you being there, has messed up. Because he know you got to where you got to with that 100-pound bag. He got there without that pack on his back at all. We expect him to be a lot farther. Why not? So you don't feel funny about getting there. You always feel good.
But that's if you're doing the right things, sir. That's if you're actually running with that 100-pound bag on your back.
Well, wherever you are, and you're there, and someone else that's from a privileged class is there, then it doesn't matter, because he definitely is doing his part. You know, if you're there and you're alongside him, because you had to do more. You just have to. That's just the way it is. But I don't have a problem with that, you know. I don't have a problem. That's part of the challenge, and that's part of the excitement that you get from being there. You know, as I think you probably mentioned that one of my classmates is now the president of Egypt when I was in the infantry school.
Oh, wow.
So when men meet, you know, in those kind of places, you find each other, you know. Khalil and I found each other because we were similar in mentality. He was a very disciplined guy, you know, and so was I.
Wait, you know the president of Egypt?
Yeah.
Yeah, he just said that. Did it not register?
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. All right.
Yeah, he was one of my classmates. He was actually a good friend of mine, you know. But you run into all those kind of things, and then you learn how life is about challenge. You know, I was in a convent at an early age, right? So while the other kids are learning how to play, I got this eye like this. I'm trying to figure it out at 12, 13. How am I going to navigate? Well, you learn something that builds something in you. So when you show up at that next place, you come with something different than the other guy that shows up regular. You see? So you're always thinking. You're always on point all the time while they're playing. Yeah. So it does do something for you.
How do you overcome challenges in life?
My method is this. As I told you, I'm an airborne ranger. Right? So that means that I'm the guy that jumps out of planes. I'm the guy that's going to be jumping off mountains and those kind of things, right? But I'm also afraid of heights. I'm terrified of heights. I don't even like flying, but I have to.
You're going to Paris. I mean, there's no other way to get there.
Yeah. I get there with a little help from some beer.
I ain't mad at it.
Trust me. But I say this, you know, the way that I got through jumping out of planes is this. You do the best you can to train yourself to land. And when you jump out the plane, it's too late now. It's just like life. Whenever you face a challenge, you do what you can, prepare for it before that happens, but you got to jump into the void and just hope God grabs you on the other end.
Yeah.
But everything requires that, you know, even challenge. You got to get into it, because there's a saying that says, action cures fear. So whenever you do something, you'll cure that fear. Just like when I jump out, I cure the fear, because now I got to think about how am I going to land.
And not
Yeah.
die.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
And if you've done it right, you've probably thought about all of the strategies and the contingencies before jumping.
That's right. That's right.
But the point is to jump, really.
That's right.
Yeah. Whether it's entrepreneurship or writing or, you know, whatever else, you know, people listening right now, God, just jump. Just jump.
Yeah.
Yeah. Especially in entrepreneurship, you have to be aggressive in that, because you're alone. You're a hunter. You're out there trying to. I have a lot of mentees that are in business, and I often tell them you got two different types of people. You have those that are on a regulated feeding schedule. They're like zoo animals, right? They need a job. And then you got the animals and the beasts of the wild. Now, the ones on a regulated feeding schedule, they look pretty healthy and everything. But that jungle animal, now he looks lean.
It's
Like that
crying.
mean eye.
Yeah, like
Now,
me.
that's a big difference. Now, the people that are on that regulated feeding schedule, you know, they get a piece of meat. You know, they don't get to decide what meat that is. It's just a hunk of meat. But they get it every day at 5 o'clock, you know what I'm saying? But that animal that's in the jungle, he don't get it unless he kills it. But when he kills that beast, he gets to eat the heart and leave the scraps to somebody else. Yeah. So when you out there in business, you got to be like a predator. You got to know how to hunt. and you can't be affected by not eating sometimes, because sometimes, business, sometimes it's gonna be feast or famine. Sometimes you're gonna be starving more than the rest of the guys. You're gonna have to be able to withstand that type of thing to follow your dream. Because one day you're gonna get that antelope. You're gonna be able to eat the heart while it's still beating.
Yes.
Hey, got snap that one, man. I
don't mean to ruin anybody's appetite.
Well, shoot, I'm trying to get that heart. You know what I'm saying?
We're gonna have PETA coming over here and like, what is going on with antelopes?
They can get all the way away from that. But now, listen, this is Kanji. I don't know if you got any questions to close. It's been a dope hour.
Yes.
Or just, speak of your relationship and.
I mean, I just have so much respect for you, Prof. And I mean, I've told you this time without number. And I know a lot of the stories that we've heard here today. But if you could say one thing to a young black man who for him seems like the deck is stacked against him and who might be listening to this show right now, in this moment, what would that one thing be that they could take with them forever?
Always believe in yourself. And if you have people around you that don't believe in you, separate yourself from them for a while. Because you got to be able to believe in yourself. A man that goes into the jungle, whatever, and he has fear that he's not going to make it out, no, it's not going to make it out. You got to believe in yourself and everything that you do. That's the one thing that's going to be helpful to you.
Yeah, man, I was listening attentive to that one. Yes, it's facts. Listen, we've had the privilege of speaking with the romantic cuisinier. He's a retired public relations professor, entrepreneur, and also retired combat veteran, author of this here book, Words and Thoughts, Haikus in Ebony and Gray. Frank J. Phillips, appreciate you coming through, kicking it with us and Stuck in the Middle podcast.
Definitely my
Safe trip to France.
Definitely my friend.
Bring me back some fries, you know what I
Yes, yeah. Oh, yes.
Package.
Oh, yeah,
You didn't say baguette? I mean, come on.
Baguettes? Which one was that?
Bread.
Oh, I thought you meant ring. Baguette is ring too now.
I like that question that you came up with the haiku.
Oh, yeah.
okay.
We're still taping, by the way. We appreciate you. Definitely got it.
That's all right. I'm legit.
Yeah. Thank you guys for watching. Appreciate you checking it in weekly basis. If this is your first time and you made it this far, please subscribe and hit that ringer button so you can get updates weekly basis. Akanji, thank you.
Of course.
You know, for guest hosting.
It's my pleasure. I love coming here. I feel like
man.
I should just transfer all of my
Equipment. Well, right into that corner there in the corner.
You know what? I ain't mad at it.
You know what I'm saying? That's a good segment to say. If you want office space, you hit up our sponsor, Perfect Office Solution. They provide office space for entrepreneurs in the DMV area. Hit them up. Use promo code SITM Podcast. You get 10% off your monthly lease. Akanji's about to do that right now so she can have a home for her podcast. You know what? Which I have listened to, and it's dope.
You have?
Yeah, I'll check it out.
I'm going to talk to y'all after this tape.
You know what I'm saying? We're giving out lessons now. Yeah.
Okay.
Holla at me. Holla at AK.
I brought my bank account.
Listen, this is Stuck in the Middle Podcast. You guys say it with me, and we out. 1, 2, 3. This is Stuck in the Middle Podcast.
And we out.
Hey.